What was the greatest pain you've experienced?
Infection after a surgery. It was Christmas Day. I didn't want to ruin my family's day, so I waited until they had opened their presents in the morning to then announce I needed to go to the emergency room. But I have to say, the morphine I got later was pretty sweet. My decayed, obsessed, impacted, infected, severely inflamed, exposed nerve toothache, in my years of living in a dirt-poor family who couldn't even afford to buy basic pain medication. Take care of your teeth, please. Post-amputation of my left leg, there was a miscommunication somewhere along the line that resulted in my medication being interrupted. When the nerve block wore off, it was like someone flipped a switch on millions of nerve endings. Lasted about an hour until they contacted the doctor. A dental cavity abscessed into and through my jawbone under my right cheek for like 8 months before I could finally get a dentist to remove it. I've lost my foot in a car crash when I was 8. To this day, I frequently have phantom pains. It's not that painful in reality, but the fact that you've pain or just any kind of sensation in a limb you no longer have kind of fucks with your head. Withdrawal from prescription opioids. Literally every single part of my body hurt. The emotional and mental pain made it 10 times worse. I quit cold turkey, been sober since September 1, 2014. Kidney stones. The stone itself hurt, but mine was too big to pass, so it just got stuck in my ureter, the tube from kidney to bladder. I laid on the floor in the emergency room until an angel nurse got approval to give me some morphine, and the doctor got me scheduled with a urologist the next morning. They had 2 choices for me. Blast it, I think it's called lithotripsy. Something with sound waves, or go in after it. Blasting it was 3x more expensive, so I told them to go on in. There is only one way in. For a while after surgery, you have a tube inside you, and a string hanging out. God help you if anything even tugs on that string. The biggest problem, however, is that the pain when you pee will bring you to your knees, but you're supposed to be drinking water the entire time you're awake to ensure that everything is cleaned out properly. So you drink, pee, die, drink, pee, die, for almost 2 weeks, until the urologist decides it's time to remove the tube, by pulling on the string that hurts to even touch. Next time, I'll pay for the blasting, but I've heard that it can be just as bad passing 500 tiny stones over the course of a few days too. Doctor left grapefruit-sized mass of tissue inside of me post C-section. On the morning my husband was to return to work after paternity leave, I laid on the floor writhing in pain. He thought I was having my first period after birth. I begged to go to the ER. As he got up to go to work, I grabbed the car keys and drove myself to the ER. He was forced to stay home without newborn twins. He's not a bad guy, he just had to go back to work. At the hospital, I fucking moaned and begged to be knocked out. The pain was 100. My eyes rolled back in my head. I begged for mercy. Anything. Please, knock me out. One nurse listened, after several hours, and gave me a Xanax. I finally fell asleep. Woke up an hour later, hemorrhaging from my vagina. I screamed, something is coming out of me. Alarms went off and a triage team rushed in, placing stickers all over me. It was a grapefruit-sized mass. I lost a lot of blood. I was shivering so hard I thought my teeth would shatter. The nurse remained after her shift and stroked my head, asking me if I was cold. I said, no. I'm scared. She stayed with me for hours. 100% the worst pain I've ever endured. When I was a teenager I had a sinus headache so bad that I temporarily lost vision in my left eye. My sinus was physically pressing against the back of the eye, and I could not stop vomiting. Worse than the pain was the thought that maybe it was a tumor and this was how the rest of my short life was going to be until the tumor took me or I found a high enough place to jump from to my death. Then someone explained sinus medication to me. 20 minutes after the first dose, I was fine. God bless Western medicine. I got zapped by 30,000 volts, thankfully only 0.5 amp transformed, but it hurt like absolute hell. It was a piece of R&D equipment that someone had wired incorrectly, and it didn't shut down when it was supposed to for access. I had stomach problems and the doctor would check it out with a little camera attached to a tube. He said it would be easier if they stuck it in my nose so that I could still talk and wouldn't gag on the tube. That morning I got a cold though, but the doctor insisted we still did it throat the nose. He kept jamming it in against my swollen nasal cavity and it hurt so much I couldn't breathe. After 10 minutes of descratting both my nostrils, that asshole of a doctor finally gave in and we did the procedure through my mouth. A week later my snot was still red with blood. I was at wrestling practice in high school. Someone didn't line the mats up properly, so there was a small gap between them. While practicing lunges, my foot got caught in the gap, and on attempting to stand, I twisted my ankle. Somehow came out with only a fracture. Couldn't walk for months though. When I was 10, I needed a kidney biopsy. The surgeon gave me a local anesthesia, marked an X in my back, and handed the needle to a resident. That resident proceeded to ignore the X, miss my kidney entirely, and stab me in the rib. Hemorrhoids. I didn't know how many movements and positions had such impact on my anus before that. I've had worse pain in short periods, but this was the longest and consistent. Aftermath of hernia surgery. Doctor said, days 3 to 5 after surgery will be the worst. Boy, was he right. Lying perfectly still in bed, because moving any part of my body even 1/8 of an inch would cause incredible pain, so bad that I couldn't avoid screaming. And this was with painkillers so strong that taking 2 pills at once would make you hallucinate. Still had to use the bathroom twice a day. The first time took me 45 minutes, screaming in pain the entire time, for a round trip. I called his office and yelled, I should be in a hospital bed with a morphine drip. I got shot in the left nut at a shooting range. Felt nothing at first, but after I realized what happened, I fell like a rag doll. Thank God I have my right one, or I'd be adopting. When my stomach acid was eating away at my stomach lining. Let me tell you. You are sitting down in your living room, then suddenly agonizing pain just shoots through your stomach, and you're instantly on the floor in the fetal position, crying your eyes out. Your mom comes running into the room, asking you what's wrong, and tries to comfort you as she's calling the doctor slowly. The pain ebbs away, and you feel fine, and are able to talk. You tell the doctor the problems, and they simply say, oh, have you tried antacids? So, you do just that, eat some antacids. Ooh boy. After I swallowed it, I was fine for 5 minutes, and we hang up. But we were wrong. I was back on the ground in the fetal position, crying and screaming, writhing in pain, just yelling, make it stop, as I nearly black out from the pain. We go to the and every few minutes the pain would act up again, and again I'd be back on the floor screaming and crying. The doctor tells me that it's my stomach acid eating away at my lining, and there isn't anything they can do, but let it run its course. For 3 days, 3 damn days, the pain would come and go, at all hours. I'd be sleeping, then next thing I know, I'm on the floor in pain, screaming and crying, holding my stomach. Nothing makes it better. You take just a sip of water. Agonizing pain. You're hungry. Better not even take a nibble. Agonizing pain. 3 whole days, 3 damn days of this pain. Finally my stomach heals, and I am put on a strong antacid, and I'm much better. Sometimes though, it acts up, and I just need to let it run its course. It's nowhere near as bad as it was, but OMG. It was the most horrible pain I have ever felt. I had an internal hemorrhoid that basically burst. Went to the and the doctor sent me straight to a specialist who put me right into surgery. He cut out part of my rectum and sewed everything back together again. When the painkillers wore off, I thought I was dying. I didn't go back to work for 7 weeks because the pain was so awful. Surgery doesn't stop you from having to take a dump, and using the bathroom felt like I stuck my finger in a light socket. That went on for weeks. I had Percocet pills, but they were not strong enough for the hellfire pain that I was in. It hurt to sit, hurt to walk, hurt to do anything, but when it was time to go to the bathroom, that was a very special hell. You ever had a tooth pulled? I've had a few pulled when I was younger. What they would do is apply a local anesthetic so I wouldn't feel any pain. Except one time, they numbed the wrong spot before ripping my tooth out. It's a miracle I don't have PTSD when going to the dentist. Had an inexplicable abscess grow near my anus. Yep. I was in so much pain for a week, even had fevers, and my legs were super hot. Went to the where a heartless doctor popped the abscess with his bare hands, splashing everyone around him like in a Tarantino movie. I remember it all went black for a few seconds, and then when I opened my eyes, I noticed my hands and arms were extremely purple. The surgeon yelled super hard at this doctor because it shouldn't have been popped, but surgically removed under anesthesia. After surgery, I was in pain for another month. Worst experience ever. The morning after I gave birth, I felt dehydrated, so I necked the jug of water they give you. Still had the catheter in. Turns out the catheter was blocked and my bladder was full. I mean, more than full. I screamed with the pain of it. I can confidently say it was worse than childbirth. They drained 3 of those funny cardboard bed pans from my bladder and the midwife was in shock at the amount. The worst.